Welcome to Betting Bananas with the ruthless L. Dawson, Ryan the Cornerman Quinn, and Dave Van Auken.
What's up, fight fans? Obviously, this is not Dave this week. It is your girl, Maddie Levine. I'm filling in for our fearless leader, Dave Van Auken, as he does his thing over at the PFL this week. But this is Betting Bananas, and we're going to be breaking down the do's and don'ts for UFC Fight Night, Vettori versus Cannonier. And as always, a huge shout out to Millions.co for always supporting us. So make sure you check out their swag and their websites as well. And I am joined by the real professionals of Betting Bananas. We have the ruthless L. Dawson. We have Ryan, the Cornerman Quinn. Guys, thank you so much for having me. I am your guest this evening. I'm going to be teeing it up for you guys. But just, when the card got announced and just that overall look at the card, L, how are we feeling about it? And what are you most excited about?
There's a lot of really close fights on this card. Like, I think that this is definitely a difficult card to bet because there are some really, really close lines. The Vegas has been really killing it on the favorites lately. I feel like there's been a really, really hard to find good underdog plays, but these are so close here where I feel like there's definitely some fights that are gonna go either way. I love Marvin Vettori. I love Jared Cannonier. I'm just super excited to see two middleweights that are right there on the cusp of maybe getting another title shot. Just going at it, it'll be a good night.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about those betting lines too, because when I looked at it, I was like, am I reading this correctly? But Ryan, how about you? What are you most excited about for this one?
Yeah, like when the main event was announced, I was super pumped. I really, I know that this main event was announced in like early January, I think. It was during that lull where there was like 4 weeks between UFC events. And I really loved how they crushed it with these fight announcements. It gave a lot to talk about. And then they just worked their way back. Armin Secturian versus Joaquim Silva in the co-main event. It really is going to be one of those fight night cards that really delivers. Really looking forward to it.
As always, Saturdays are always the fight night in our house. So we got like back to back fight cards coming up, and I'm so excited. But this one is all about Vettori versus Cannonier fight night. Let's jump right into it. Elle, for your best bet of the night, who do we got?
So my best bet of the night is going to be Alessandro Costa over Jimmy Flick. Costa really, really impressed me in his short notice debut against Amir Albazi. That is a super tough guy to step up against on short notice like that. And he did look really, really good. He displayed that he has the ability to put guys in that weight class in danger. And he has that finishing ability. And I just, with Flick, the long layoff, the temporary retirement, going back and forth between deciding whether or not he wanted to fight, and then coming back after that long layoff and getting knocked out the way he did against Charles Johnson, putting him in there against a guy who has phenomenal takedown defense and has a lot of power and a lot of danger factor in a guy like Alessandro Costa. I feel like Flick only has one way to win, and I think it's going to be really, really hard for him to get Costa to the mat. I really like Costa inside the distance for some extra juice there as well.
I like what you're saying there, and it looks like Vegas is in agreement with you. I'm looking at this now with a minus 225. So I'm sure that'll, stay consistent. For yours, for the, let's see. So we're still on the best bet here. Ryan, what are you thinking?
Yeah, we're going to start right at the top of the card. I really like Modestas Bukauskas over Zach Pelga. I think that Modestas is bigger. He's more athletic. I tend not to go into the age factor, particularly with heavyweights, because heavyweight's usually an older division. However, that being said, I feel that Zach, because he got into MMA a little bit later, I feel that a lot of that younger stuff, that remedial stuff, never really got developed very well. He looks pretty like herky-jerky in there sometimes, a little stiff when he's transitioning. I feel like that's going to hurt him against Modestas. Modestas, he has some finishing power. And that's nothing for heavyweights. Zach is kind of a decision machine. For a heavyweight to have mostly decision wins, I mean, even though it's only been 8 fights, it's very uncommon, especially because most of his fights were on the regional scene. So I feel that when damage is going to be done at that heavyweight level at the elite, that's where Modestas brings it in. So I have him finishing, actually, Zach Pelga.
All right, finishing our first finish of the night. I'm so excited. And I'm looking at some of these bets here. A lot of them to me seem like, yeah, they're extremely close, which gives, plenty of opportunities for maybe some underdogs to show face. So when we're talking about that underdog play, um, Ryan, let's go back to you. Does anybody stick out for you as like a sure underdog for you?
This was a tough night for underdogs. Really tough night for underdogs. I really had to sift through and see what I was going with. Best underdog I think that I have on the card, I'd have to go with Miles Johns over Honey Bocellos. Now, Honey has a very pesky style when he wants to get in there, make you fight in the telephone booth until he jacks you up against the cage and he can take you down. He's got a great jiu-jitsu game. However, it hasn't looked to be that effective in his most recent fights. And against somebody like Miles Johns, who has a solid wrestling background, and he's got the size going for him. I do worry about Miles' his activity a little bit, but I feel he's been to a lot of really good training camps where we still could see some development out of him, which we could see against the Honey Bocellos, and I could see him pointing his way to a victory on Saturday night.
You make such a great point about how tough it is to even choose an underdog. Elle, were you able to choose one and feel confident about it?
So I'm actually in total agreement with Ryan here. I really feel like Johns is being undervalued. I really love Honey Barcelos. He's been a favorite of mine at 135 for a while, but I think I agree with Ryan where his style has not been suiting him lately. And he has fought some really, really tough competition in Umar most recently, but I just don't think he has it anymore. I think he's starting to diminish. I think we're starting to see him age out. And I really like Johns. I know he didn't have the best performance in his last outing, but there were obviously a lot of extenuating circumstances with losing his coach the day before the fight, kind of just having to go in and wing it. I was kind of on the fence about this because he did decide to stay in Kansas City after the whole Glory MMA fiasco. And I'm not sure, honestly, what his training situation is looking like. But the fact that he was able to come up and perform and get a win, although it may not have been his prettiest win, it was definitely like he won the fight after something like his coach just not being able to corner him. I feel like he has the mental capacity to be able to come back from that and put on a good performance against a guy like Barcelos.
I love that. It's like it shows who he is as a person too, right? Because so many athletes, your coach is not coming. That would, really mess with a lot of fighters. So to show that heart and to show that like, okay, I can do this. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Like it really shows his character. So totally feel you on that one. Before we get to the 3-fight parlay, are any of these lines shocking you guys? Again, this is one of those cards where it's like they're all so close. Did you expect them to be looking a little different? Ryan, we'll go with you to that question.
I'm trying to think of a fight that really I was a little bit surprised with well, I'm about to contradict what I'm going to say, but I was a little bit surprised with how much of a favorite Armand was, but definitely should be a heavy favorite. I saw some crazy lines earlier in the week. Might change closer to, and that was really the only one that really stood out. I think that was really a lot of these lines were pretty close. A lot of these lines were pretty close. That was the outlier, so to speak.
So when something like this is so close, Elle, does it make betting any easier or harder in your opinion? Like
it's definitely, I think it's more difficult because if you already have a close fight and there's not a clear underdog on the lines, then it's like there's not a whole lot of value in taking that risk. And that's why like I kind of liked seeing Miles Johns as big of an underdog as he was, getting closer to the plus 200 side, because some of those lines are much closer than that. And I'm not 100% on it. Like that's the best underdog that I really liked on the card. But it's still a close fight. Barcelo's still like, it's not like he doesn't have a fighting chance here.
Right.
So I like seeing a couple fights where there is a bigger underdog. And if if people are riding the Joaquin Silva train coming into that fight, like Neto's a huge underdog here. So there's at least a lot of value in those larger odds.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, let's move right along to your 3-fight parlay. What do you got?
So I'm actually going to start with the Joaquin Silva and Arman Tsarukyan fight. I have that ending inside the distance. I think both guys are really dangerous. Silva has power, as he demonstrated against Chency Ronson. He's also been knocked out before that. Tsarukyan has a lot of tools. He has a lot of ways that he can win here. I think he is absolutely also capable of finishing the fight. I really think the inside the distance is the way to play this fight. If you're riding one guy or the other, obviously there's a lot more value on Silva than there is on Tsarukyan, but you can also play just the distance. For my second play, sorry, my dog is barking. Come here.
Animals are always welcome on Betting Bananas. It's fine.
He's a little too big for me to put in my lap, but I'm going to bring him here so he stops barking at the door. So my second leg, I have Muslim Salikov over Nicholas Dalby. So I think Salikov is much more well-rounded here. He has more ways to win. Dalby is a heavy striker. He's coming off 2 big wins, but this is a huge step up in competition for him. I think that Salikov is more dangerous on the feet than many of Dalby's previous opponents. I think he has that ability to really control the range here. He has a bit of a grappling advantage as well. I think Dalby's a little bit more one-dimensional. But I really like Salikov as by decision as a parlay piece here. I think Dalby is tough enough to stick it out and hang in there and trade with him. But I think that Salikov is going to land the harder, cleaner shots over 15 minutes. So I like him by decision. And then my final leg of my parlay, I am going to take Jared Cannonier by decision over Marvin Vettori.
Ooh.
Vettori's never been finished even by heavy hitters like Izzy and Costa and Whitaker, all guys with finishes. And I don't think Cannonier, even though he has the ability to finish. Hey, come here. I'm so sorry.
I love it. I love it.
Even though he has the ability to finish here, I think Vettori is going to be tough enough to hang around. Vettori swings really wide on the feet, which sometimes makes him struggle with these faster, more tactical strikers. If we look at like the Izzy, the Whitaker fight, Cannonier has exceptional cardio. He has exceptional footwork. If we go back to the Strickland fight, he looked really, really good in there with another very, very high-level striker. And I just don't expect him to slow down much in this fight, where Vettori's pace is usually one of his best attributes. I think Cannonier can almost use that against him by controlling the range, using his length, using those big kicks to keep Vettori off of him. And I think Vettori would have a grappling advantage, but I think he may struggle getting inside on the faster Cannonier. Not to mention, Cannonier is he's just a very special guy. The dude has fought at heavyweight. He's fought at light heavyweight. He's fought at middleweight. That guy has heavyweight hips. And that is a real thing. And we've seen it. We've seen it in his kicks, his takedown defense. I think that there is definitely something to be said about carrying that physicality and that power down with him over 3 weight classes.
I love it. Perfect breakdown by you, Elle. And I think it's something to keep in mind for bettors is Cannonier's ability to strike and those heavyweight hips, as you say. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. Big shout out to Dave, who wants to pop in for a quick sec to brag about the Atlanta's barbecue. I guess he's living his best life right now. Rub it in, buddy. Rub it in. But quick shout out to Dave. Always a pleasure when he joins. So now we are on to Ryan. What do we got for your picks?
A lot of similarities, yet not. It's our parlays are ice cream, but you got vanilla, I got chocolate, I guess. We'll start. I too have Muslim over Nicholas Dalby. I think that Muslim. I remember when he first came to American Top Team. Like obviously, well, I probably talk too fast anyway. Or speak too fast anyway. And I remember he was just kind of there, and myself and Mo were kind of like doing something, and he was kind of workout. And I go, "Do you wrestle?" And he goes, And I was like,
Oh,
all right.
jeez.
Well, and then he just launches me on the ground. I'm like, oh, this freaking guy wrestles. and then it turned. And then I looked it up. Oh, Sanjiao. Which for those of you who don't know, Sanjiao is Chinese kickboxing. It's kickboxing with some throws. Anyway, so clearly he was a world-class athlete already. And I'm like, all right, so that was on me. Either way, so the guy's got wrestling. He's got this. He's got the perfect body. Like it reminds me of like a Michael Phelps, like perfectly built for his sport. He's got these linear arms and legs, and this thick trunk that he can really bring those appendages through for powerful strikes. And he's got that very European style where he controls the center, yet he's very he's very counter offensive, and he does a lot of damage. Now against somebody like Nicholas Dalby, who too I too felt that he's fought somewhat lesser of competition. I think Nicholas is one of those guys who's left-handed, but he starts out boxing right-handed because he's so left-hand favored. But when you do that, or left-hand, left kick favored with a lot jab hooks, high left kicks and stuff, he does the switch high left kick. But when you start fighting like that, you tend to get heavy on the front side. Against somebody like a Muslim, it's going to open up a lot of power punches, a lot of damage if you're out of position. So I think that Muslim has a major advantage in this fight. Going up, the Armin Sakurian versus Joaquim Silva. I have Armin winning that fight. I think that as long as he doesn't get overzealous, it's a 3-round fight, that's going to help him to stay away from the home run knees, the home run swings that Joaquim likes to throw. I think that he's going to be able to control time against the fence and land some big power shots on his way to a conservative victory. I don't see that. I'm not. I'm just not as confident as you, El, that fight would end inside the distance simply because of Joaquim's defense. Now, when you tend to be when you try to set up those power strikes and you don't throw a lot of volume, it's almost like built-in defense. Joaquim has a great stance, so he's not going to really open up to a lot of stuff nor give a lot of stuff. So I think based on Joaquim, that's what's going to take it into the later rounds. So we'll go with Armin in the over. We'll meet halfway on that. Now in the main event, we got a banana bet here. We got a banana head bet. I don't know if you know what those are, but
I'm excited to hear what a banana bet is.
Why don't you explain, El, and then we'll come back.
Do you have your hat with you to show,
of course,
Maddie?
Of course.
So
why would you even ask
these
that?
wonderful hats that Dave so graciously bought us.
Wow.
We disagree.
Time out. I'm not putting it on because I lost, everybody. I'm putting it on for
just for posterity.
Look at that. And screenshot. Boom. This is fantastic. Oh, yeah, man. Okay.
So if we ever disagree on a fight, we can challenge someone to a banana bet. They can decline or accept. Okay. I don't think we've ever had anybody decline.
I didn't know that.
Too much shit for that.
He goes, wait a minute, I can decline?
So I guess you have your first, you're witnessing your first banana bet, Maddie.
I'm okay. Wow. I am hooked. This is wonderful. We have our first banana bet of the evening. I mean, it doesn't get better.
El, next time I'm down at the gym, you know how like people spit shake and it's like really gross?
Ooh.
We should have a banana in our hand and just like hard shake so it explodes all over the place and put that as like the clip before banana bet.
I think Dan's gonna make us do that outside. But I'm
as an outsider looking in, I'm totally here for that.
Whatever.
That's amazing.
Grosser things have happened in that place, trust me.
Well, but sorry, did you have some more?
Right. Oh yeah, the actual bet.
The actual bet. Yeah, let's hear the actual bananas bet.
I have Marvin Vettori beating Jared Cannonier simply because I think that Jared trying to cover distance, Marvin does a really good job with that lateral footwork to control fighters against the fence. And I think once he gets there and he can use his southpaw, that southpaw style is going to help that boxing to score in that telephone booth. I don't see him knocking out Jared, but I do see over 5 rounds, I do see him winning the damage game, which we know that I just thought of something funny I'll say after. But which we know the judges look for, and we should be able to bet on a controversial. Will the main event be controversial or not? Because this fight, no doubt, is going to be a controversial win one way or the other. So, and that doesn't matter. We've had controversial banana bets. It does not matter. The decision's the decision.
The decision is the decision.
Yeah, so
you have to honor the bet.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. So yeah, I have Muslim over Dalby. I have Armin over Joaquin in the over, and I have Marvin Vettori over Jared Cannonier.
Done. Plus the first ever bananas bet that I've witnessed. This is wonderful. But guys, I mean, before you put those bets in before fight night or during fight night, you have to watch Betting Bananas, because this was the perfect breakdown of how you can actually make money while watching some of your favorite fights on Saturday night. Now, we're just going to wrap a bow on it. The main event, obviously super exciting. It's got a lot of weight to it. But what I'm curious to hear from you guys is maybe a sleeper fight that could potentially steal the show. Any thoughts on that, Elle?
Oh yeah. So my sleeper fight is going to be Pat Sabatini and Lucas Almeida. So I do have a pick in this fight. I just didn't quite get to it. You'll have to check out Elle's extra picks.
Yes.
To know who I think is going to win. No, I'm just kidding. So Pat, I really like Pat Sabatini, and I think that he's being slept on because of he got caught against Damon Jackson. And I think that Lucas Almeida revealed some defensive issues in his fight with Mike Trezano, and he was dropped very badly before he came back and won the fight. And I know a lot of people were even arguing the fight could have been stopped when Trezano dropped him. So I think this is a really interesting matchup against two really dangerous guys. But Pat is an absolute tactician. The dude can wrestle. He has power. He's just a really good, dangerous, all-around guy. And I'm really excited to see him back in the cage. He's one of my favorite people to watch.
Awesome. So how about the betster over there, Ryan? Do we feel the same way? Do you have another sleeper fight?
No, I'm sticking with that too. I don't agree that Pat's. I know a lot of people. Well, the old adage is, which I never agree with, is you're only as good as your last fight. And he did get caught against Damon Jackson. He's so much better than that. He's got the wrestling from Long Island. He's got heavy hands. He brings a lot to the table, and both fighters have holes in their polarizing approach to things. Him and Lucas, where you could see some real swatting, some real scrambles, and it's really got a lot to look forward to with that one.
I think this is going to be a pretty fun fight card to watch come Saturday night. And thanks to you guys, everybody knows exactly who to bet on and when. So this is going to be great. This was a very exciting episode of the Betting Bananas. I feel honored that I got to sit. Of course, I got a chance to sit in the big man's chair and check out David's job for a minute. But you guys were the real stars tonight. Is there anything that you guys want to promote before we head out?
We're good. Watch Ryan's segments.
I mean, I know you guys got your own podcast and stuff.
Yeah, Ryan has great segments. Make sure you go check them out. They're awesome.
Elle's got her supplemental picks. You can't beat it. And we're all underneath the Fight Bananas umbrella. You can see all our stuff on all their platforms. Yeah, we're one big happy family. One big
banana family. I love it.
Check out Maddie's show.
Yes, the peel back. Hell yeah.
Sorry.
We're always so busy here, and that's why you always got to be in tune with Fight Bananas, baby. Make sure you subscribe to Betting Bananas podcast on all platforms. Next week, we're going to be right back at it. I'm sure Dave will be back in the hot seat for another great fight night. Emmett versus Tapuria. That's going to be a great fight night as well. But as always, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Later, ladies.